Hello everyone, welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be looking at the legend, the myth, and the actual truth behind one of, I believe, the world's most well-known stories, the Skinwalker. So, hope you all learned something from this video, hope you all enjoy it, and yeah, let's get into the video. If you drive down Route 166 through the Navajo Nation late at night, past the jagged silhouettes, elders will tell you two things. One, keep your eyes on the road, and whatever you do not stop if you hear a strange knock on your window or a voice calling your name out in the dark. In Western internet culture, the word skinwalker has been flattened into a generic monster, a spooky shapeshifter from a creepypasta or an online meme about a creature running down a highway. But to the Navajo people, the Naaldlooshii is not a cryptid, an urban legend, or a campfire tale to be tossed around for entertainment. It is a terrifying reality rooted in human malice, corruption, and the absolute inversion of everything sacred. Today, we're going to be doing a deep dive and look past the Hollywood gloss, the internet forums, and examine the actual beliefs behind the Navajo philosophy, and how a person supposedly enters the witchery way, and how sacred, heavily guarded cultural taboo has been ripped from its context and turned into digital folklore. To understand the Skinwalker, you first have to understand the core pillars of Navajo thought, Hazu. The Hazu is a complex concept that loosely translates to balance, harmony, beauty, goodness, and walking in a state of peace with the universe and all living things. Traditionally, long day, Navajo medicine men and women train for decades to maintain or restore Hazu. When a person of the community falls into illness, chaos, or disharmony, they learn the deep intricacies of creation, song, and prayer. But within that traditional framework, knowledge carries a dual weight. The power to heal requires the profound understanding of how things break. And that is where the path diverges. A skinwalker, referred to a Naaldlooshii, which roughly translates to, quote, by means of it, he goes on all fours, end quote. This is not a separate species of demon or supernatural beasts, but it is a human being. More specifically, it is a witch who has chosen to subvert the teachings of harmony. They reject community, they reject family, and they actively pursue the exact opposite of balance and choosing instead to cultivate chaos, sickness, and death. According to the lore, these individuals start as ordinary members of society, sometimes even individuals training within the healing arts who let greed, jealousy, or desire for absolute power corrupt their path. To cross the threshold into the witchery way, this initiation demands the ultimate sacrifice of consciousness, the murder of a close family member, frequently a sibling. Once that irreversible line is crossed, the transformation into pure malice is complete. Now you might be wondering, what can a skinwalker actually do? Well, according to the oral tradition, the primary capability is shape-shifting. By donning the pelt of an animal, most commonly a wolf, coyote, fox, bear, or cougar, this witch can assume that physical form, and while transformed, they can retain their human consciousness and malevolent intent, utilizing the animal's speed and camouflage to stalk human settlements, spy on families, or travel vast distances unseen. Oral accounts emphasize several chilling characteristics of these encounters. Animal forms driven by skinwalkers often move with an eerie, mechanical precision in ways actual wildlife never would, such as running at impossible speeds or staring with unsettling human intelligence. Also said to use vocal mimicry, like making the cries of a lost child, a hurt animal, or the voice of a loved one to lure an unsuspecting person out of their home or into the darkness. But beyond physical attacks, skinwalkers are feared for specialized ritual poisons, including ground corpse dust from specific graves or infant bones, blown or smeared into homes to cause severe illness or wasting disease in their enemies. Crucially, unlike European werewolf myths where a victim is bitten or cursed involuntarily, the Skinwalker's power is a deliberate, calculated use of cruelty. They are reported to be nearly invulnerable to ordinary weapons, though traditional stories note that recognizing them, calling out their true human names, or striking them with a weapon dipped in white ash can break their power or force them to revert back into their human form. This now brings us to the vital cultural boundary. While you never hear the Navajo people talk about skinwalkers to outsiders, or even amongst themselves, especially after dark. Well, in Navajo tradition, focusing your energy, thoughts, and speech on malevolent entities gives them power and invites their unwanted attention. To speak the name Naaldlooshii casually is considered dangerous and disrespectful. It acts as a beacon for negative energy, dragging the very darkness you are discussing closer to your space. For decades, early anthropologists and journalists treated these oral traditions like Western zoo exhibits, collecting stories, stripping them of their moral framework, and publishing them as Indian ghost stories. This caused a deep protective silence within the community. When outsiders treat sacred cultural taboos as urban legends, they're not only misunderstanding the gravity of what a human choosing evil means in the Navajo philosophy, but they are also disrespecting a living culture that is actively managing historical trauma and spiritual preservation. In the 2010s and early 2020, the Skinwalker exploded across the internet. Platforms like Reddit, YouTube, and TikTok turned the Naaldlooshii into a viral sensation. Hashtags amassed hundreds of millions of views. However, in the great machine of the internet, the Skinwalker underwent a complete genetic mutation. It blended together the Wendigo myth, turning the Navajo desert witch into a tall, deer skulled forest monster. It also took the sci fi doppelganger or shape shifting alien that mimics human voices in the woods, and it became the staple of interactive horror fiction, stripped entirely of the Navajo moral landscape, the concept of Hashu, and the human culpability. As opinions on the digital platform show, this mainstream shift has created a split reaction. Many internet creators view it as a harmless modern myth making, comparing it to universal tropes of changelings and werewolves. Controversial indigenous users and cultural advocates express deep frustration, pointing out that transforming a living tribe's serious spiritual taboos and real world community fear into a cheap jump scare monster is a form of cultural appropriation that disrespects the ongoing indigenous traditions. But at the end of the day, horror stories reveal a lot about the cultures that tell them. European folklore gives us monsters created by curses or full moons, while Navajo lore gives us something far more sombering, a reminder that the most terrifying monster isn't an animal in the woods, but a human being who looked at harmony, balance, and community and actively decided to tear it all down. Understanding the Skinwalker isn't about feeding our midnight curiosity or looking for a thrill on the dark road. It's about respecting the boundaries of a culture that values life, order, and peace above all else. I hope you all enjoyed this video. It might be a bit longer video, I hope. Sorry for the cicada out back. I guess he's just got a whole bunch of views that he's got to just spew out. So yeah. Catch you all in the next video. Yeah, peace.